Hey, you are very welcome along to this Guitar Hour. This is a re-recording of the original broadcast which took place for members on the 30th of November. Basically, there was an error with the iPad share. Anytime I shared my iPad, it came up with a big black screen. So I'm redoing it. Now, the content is the same. I had notes made, and the iPad notes are here as well. So you're very welcome. And whether you're watching this today or you're watching this looking back in time, if you have any questions, ask anytime. I'm here to help. And remember that this whole video, this whole call is searchable. So there should be a magnifying glass up somewhere on the screen. You can search for certain terms. So if you want to search open chords, put that in. It will bring up every reference I make in this call to open chords. Remember, the advantage of this is it's so that you can look things up that are relevant for your interests, and you don't have to sit through like really advanced things if you're beginning out, or sitting through really easy things if you're advanced. And it's okay too if you want to watch that stuff. I did it loads. Right, let's get into it. Now, do a quick little check. Excellent. iPad working, split screen working. Away we go. Okay, so what's in today's call is as follows. We got questions. There was a lot of questions to do around chords and rhythm. And I usually dip into both of these because at the end of the day, when we're beginning out, or even after we've been playing a while, we're either making chords or we're strumming. And each of those on their own, you could do hours, okay? So what we'll start with is the following. And of course, we're doing this to learn songs. The name of the game here is songs, okay? And I broke it down. I said we make chords and we play rhythm. Now, let's zoom in on chords a sec. Literally zoom in. Looking at chords, we have to make sure they sound clean, that they sound clear. That is the very first step when it comes to chords. I could show you the coolest rhythms, I could show you finger picking, I could show you alternate picking, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if the chord isn't clear, that's the thing to watch. So, what do we have to watch when it comes to making our chords clear? Well, even as a little reminder, we've got to watch out that we are keeping our fingers close to the frets. So if I do this here, like even that, it looks pretty good like. But notice the little gap between my finger and the fret, and watch. That little bit. I promise you that little bit can make all the difference. Sometimes here in lessons, students will go, really, does it, Dave? That little bit? And I usually say, you know, like in a match, you hear, oh, they were this close to winning, but they didn't win. They were this close. And we can be this close to having a clear chord, but without the fingers being close to the frets. That's the thing. And whether you're doing open chords or bar chords, I'm trying to pronounce my words clearly here for the transcription. It sometimes has problems with my Irish accent. And do you see the way here my fingers are still close to the frets on bar chords? Okay? So how does a chord sound when it's fully clear? It'll sound something like this. Unclear? Still makes a slight sound, but you got to watch it. Now, when you're beginning out, it's easy to look at it and go, I'm not sure is it clear or not. You know, I'm strumming and I'm playing and it's making a noise or it's making a sound, but I'm unsure. Well, what you can do is your clear chord check. And remember the way we worked that? That was where you kept your fingers close to the fret and you basically did a roll call on each of your strings. So going like this. And if a string isn't coming out clearly, you check, is it close to the fret? You press a little bit harder and maybe stay on it for like 30 seconds. Just really get the feeling into your fingers of what it's like to press hard at that point. A bonus tip when it comes to your pressing hard on chords is as follows. And I'm using G as an example. You can use other open chords as well, of course. But it's all to do with the knuckle that's closest to your nail. That knuckle there holds great potential if you flatten it to press down. It clamps down on the chord without that. Okay? So that's a bit on making your chords clearer. And the thing is, when you're in the middle of a song, it's kind of hard, like you're strumming, you've the next chord coming up. God, I hope the next chord works out. I'm trying to sing and play this. I'm trying to stay in time. We've all this stuff going on. And sometimes I remember that thing where I'd put on the chord shape and I'd suddenly look at my hand and go, oh no, that isn't how a G's supposed to look. And in that moment, you got to like self-correct it. So to practice this, to put it into practice, basically what you can do is you can get your chord and just pick one shape on their own at a time. And if you're okay with G, pick a D chord or pick an A chord or an E minor, whatever chord it is that you're looking at and you're like, it isn't fully clear. Just stay close to the frets and give that some attention, okay? I've used this example before and I'm not a parent, but I'd imagine if I had 3 kids, 3 chords, this is where I'm going with this example, if I had 3 kids and 2 of them were very well behaved, right? And 1 was slightly misbehaving, well, maybe I'd bring more attention to what's going on for this kid. Now, sorry if I'm offending any parents here. I'm just trying to think what I'd do. And the thing is, I'd kind of check in, well, what's going on with them? Is everything okay? While giving the other ones attention and helping them and nurturing them. But the one that needs the most attention, that's the one I'd spend a bit more time on. Chords. Okay, so that could, I hope that example sounded okay. And feel free to get back to me and go, dude, you have no clue about children. And so that's the thing about the clear chords. Okay, now the next thing is quick changes. To make quick changes with your chord changes, well, the biggest tip I could give you is no matter what song you're on, look at basically starting on one chord. I was trying to think of a song. Whatever the chord change is that's causing you the most hassle, just take those 2 chords out, isolate them, and just do your chord change drill. Which, if you're unfamiliar with it, is if I was slow going from an E minor to a C, and it's okay if you don't know these chords yet, and this will work with any chord shape, I would spend time going back and over between them like that. You could set a timer for a minute and check how many times you can change that chord in a minute. So you could go like this. Every time I land on C, it's 1. Then it's 2. And 3. What this allows you to do is, it allows you to know that in a minute, to say, my E minor to C change, it isn't that quick. I don't know, is it getting better? It allows you to look at your chord change now and go, well, I can change between E minor and C 8 times in a minute on average. And I'm really hoping to get it up to 12 in the next week. That way you can measure and it gives you confidence then, and you know you're on the way to your goal. So that's a small bit about chord change drills. So we had clear chords and we had how to switch quickly between chords. Now, I gotta get used to saying chords because the transcription thing keeps saying I'm saying cards. Christmas cards. Right, bar chords. If you've been playing a while, or you're beginning out and you've heard about bar chords, they are tricky. Bar chords are difficult at times, but it's, with everything, it's all about the approach. Now, the bar chords fast track is inside this course platform, but I just want to remind you that if you haven't gone through the open chords fast tracks yet, those will be your first port to call, because the way to do this is to get the open chords together first, get the clear chords, get the movements. There's about 10 open chords and some songs to learn, and then dip into bar chords. That'll be the thing. Okay, so bar chords, what I'd suggest is go through the fast track on bar chords, and you out there playing long enough to be going at it, and then see what pops up for you. I have a lot of the common problems and pain points addressed in that course lesson. But if you do have questions on top of that, leave a comment in the community. Now, the next thing is, that's a bit about chords. And no matter what you're doing, you'll want them to be clean. You'll want to have quick changes. Now, this time we're going to get into some rhythm. Rhythm, when I started out with rhythm, it was an absolute nightmare. I was 12 when I started guitar, and it was all about chords. I learned chords, and the only other tuition I had outside of my own teaching myself before I went to lessons was two guys in my class, and they used to come in and say, "Our uncle showed us this," and they'd play, and I'd try and copy it. And our rhythm was, one of them was a drummer, so they had a sense of solid rhythm, but my own rhythm was all over the place. And the thing about rhythm is, this is slightly counterintuitive. So how can you play steady rhythm? Well, the first thing to do is to make it solid. That's the first thing. And I did get a question from somebody asking, how do I make my playing solid, my rhythm sound more solid? Well, if you're looking to make your rhythm sound more solid, there is something I've here, and it is in the strumming fast track, but basically what we're working on is the beat. We're at the level of the beat. Now just excuse me while I take a drink. So we're always looking to hone in on playing steady on the foundation. I gave this example in the original recording the last night, and I said, you never hear anybody talk about the foundation of a house. I've never driven past a house and said, that house is a beautiful foundation. I've looked at like the size of the house, or how many rooms it had, or the decor, or the gardens, things like that, but the foundation, no. And for a lot of us it's the same, but when you begin to think about it, without the foundation, the whole house will come down. So without a foundation on your beat, it doesn't matter what the strum pattern is, because it won't be too steady. So the very first thing to do when you're looking to play a steady rhythm is to just practice tapping your foot and counting along with the metronome. So you'd set a metronome for 60 BPM. And what I'll do is I'll actually share the metronome on screen here. So Guitar Tuna it's still my favorite app for tuning right now. There have been some changes with it, and I'm kind of looking at different ones. But so if this is your metronome, it looks like this. And when you go into it, you see we have this ticker, and basically you can set it to a number. Now we mightn't see that here because I do have my iPad on Zoom, but I'm going to set it to this. And what it does is it ticks at whatever tempo, whatever speed you set it at, it will tick perfectly in time, non-stop, until you stop it. And if you're looking to build steady rhythm, well, one thing you can do is you can look and just put it going, put the metronome going, ticking. Then you tap your foot along with it. Why do you tap your foot before you even play? Well, the thing is, you want to base your strum pattern on what you're feeling rather than what you're hearing first. Because we tap our foot with the metronome and then we match our strum to what we're tapping. That way we can feel if our down strum is matching our tap. Okay, so that's a small bit on steady rhythm, and I'm going to pull this up again. There we go. Okay. So if you're looking to steady up your strum patterns, the first step will be to set a metronome at 60 BPM. It's a nice manageable speed. Tap along, and you could count 1, 2, 3, 4 along with it. See, what you want to begin to do is, you want to look at it and go, well, when I strum down, is that matching my tap? And when I listen to it, so we're using our ears, when I listen to it, is that matching the tick that the metronome is giving out? And this way, you're going to know if this much, sorry, I'll do that again. You're going to know if this much of your rhythm is in time. The final remaining thing, I did use this strum pattern with an up. That's the only bit that wouldn't be matching the tap of the metronome. But when you think of how much of your time you'd be sticking to the metronome, you'll see that's the only remaining bit to add in. And how that works is, I'll get my guitar. If you're strumming like that, now listen to this one. You saw there that like I had some arrows, don't know what that bang was. You saw there that I had some arrows and some of them matched and some of them didn't. But at the end of the day, if you've practiced with the metronome, you're going to get 4 out of 5 of your strums perfectly in time. And that makes this one kind of have to fall in line and follow along. So that's a small bit about the beat, the count, and the strum. And this, I promise you, the day comes where you'll just pick up strum patterns by ear. Because not all strum patterns are worth and are okay to break down to the level of counting it all out. Like this one here, I remember I learned this one. Right, with that, you can tell they're like, what are you counting? But if you match the tap, it's going to match. Now, the next thing is, there was a few questions around finding the right strumming pattern for a song. Now, here's the thing. I know I had an Oasis book when I started playing guitar. That was my YouTube back in the day. And I loved Oasis with every moral. I thought they were the best band in the whole world, and so did they. And I got 2 books, How to Play Oasis, and there wasn't one arrow of a strum pattern in either of the 2 books. There was none. And I was there as a beginner, like trying these tricky chords and going, I don't know. I don't know how to do these, and I was just banging away at it. Now, nowadays, we're quite lucky. We have YouTube, we have other websites, we have apps, we have everything. But if you look up the strum pattern for a well-known song, like Wonderwall, you're going to find about 10 different versions online, and it's really hard to know which one's correct and to know which one you should invest your time in, because I know your time is precious, and how do you go about learning the right one and not just go all the way up a ladder to realize you climbed the wrong wall with the rhythm pattern. So I have a few tips, right? I'm going to share my screen in just a second. Okay. Hopefully this works. Okay, screen share. Yay! Alrighty, we're on the screen share. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to look up Wonderwall. I really like Ultimate Guitar. If you're a person who's never used it, the advantage of Ultimate Guitar over YouTube is, and I say this as somebody who has a YouTube channel and who does this, you have to sit through like maybe 30 seconds or a minute of the person asking you to like and subscribe and stuff before they'll teach you the thing. And I do that too. But with this, you go straight in and you get what you need. So I look up Wonderwall, and like how do you know which one to pick? I usually say, well, if you're trying to book an Airbnb or a hotel or something, and you saw 10,162 people gave this hotel a 5-star rating, that'll probably be one, yeah. So we're clicking on this one. And we agree. Okay, so ignore the chords a sec, but do you notice the way here's our rhythm pattern? And just take a second to look at that. I'm going to take a quick drink. Now, I think you'll agree, there is a whole load of arrows on this screen. Like, it's crazy. And to learn a more advanced strumming pattern and to know if it's correct, the really cool thing about this is you can hit play. Alright, so it's going to play along and show you how the arrows goes. And it sounds like a happy ad. The background music in a happy ad you'd see on YouTube. So, how could you go about finding the one to know if it's correct? Well, your ear will tell you that's pretty good, like, you know, it doesn't sound dodgy or anything. And then to break it on down, that's where I draw your attention back to our thing here, right? So let's imagine we're at the top level here. And we have a whole load of arrows. We have like so much more arrows with this. But if we look at the way it's written, you see the count is underneath, because we've got to know how to count it. And the count is underneath this as well. We have the numbers and the ands. And then for our main beat, we'll only ever tap on the main beat. So in this example, we tap 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you're looking at this and you're going, yeah, but still, like, there's so much arrows. How do I even start it? Bit by bit. What we're going to do is, I would take the first 4 beats. So I'd take it from 1 up to 4, including, and the end. And I'd start by just playing 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you notice the way those arrows fall on the beats? So that would work very well. And that means if I'm going, for copyright purposes, I'm going to play the Dave Donoghue variation of Wonderwall. Okay? Basically, if I was doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I strum down on just the beats there. Now the next step would be with the count. Take a look to see anywhere you'll be saying and. You're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Is there any place you strum when you say and? That's the next thing. And the strum patterns here, it's almost like, do you know the Disney sing-along things where the Mickey Mouse head would bop along, right? You're basically, the strum arrows is the Mickey Mouse head, and you're going to match the thing. So I'm going with this. I'm going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Notice the way there was no arrow over that and, so I said nothing. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Now what that gives you is if I did this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. That gives you the building blocks of the Wonderwall rhythm. And then what you do after that is you check, is there anything left to cover? And there is. Like, do you see this one here? Bit of a Hogwarts 9 3/4 situation. It's hard to know what we're saying there. And this one here. And this one. Well, there'll be more on that in another rhythm tutorial. But to count that one, you're basically going to say ah here. So you go 1 and 2 and 3. And you say E here. 1 and 2 and 3E and 4 and. Now, I know if you're even playing a while and you're not used to counting rhythms, you're looking at that going, what's he saying? We'll get more in depth on that because that's its own lesson. But with this for now, if you were tackling more complex rhythms, the trick with Wonderwall or other songs would be to go on to Ultimate Guitar and to look for the most highest ranked tutorial and to begin by playing the beats and the ands. So the numbers and the ands. And all you're missing then is a real handful of arrows. But the most important thing is you're building out the foundations to begin. You're getting the foundations of the beats and the off beats, that's the ands. And then you add in the remaining bits on top. All right? And of course, any questions, ask away in the community anytime. Now, the next thing is, back to the trusty iPad. We have some action items. So, if you are looking to build up your song library of rhythms and you've kind of been in the camp of looking up songs, if you've been playing a while and just saying, I can find chords, that's fine, and I know the chords and I know how to learn chords, but the rhythm is a problem. Well, here's the action items. Number one will be to pick a song, an open chord song to go after. Why an open chord song? Because we want to make the chord part easy so you can put your time and focus and attention into the rhythm part. Look up 3 tutorials on YouTube for this song and look up 3 ultimate guitar versions. Now, why am I still saying YouTube even though I said ultimate guitar earlier? It's because some YouTube tutorials do have it on screen. There's certain channels and you'll see if you just skim through, you'll see if the diagram goes up on screen. And it's good to be able to learn through different methodologies as well. And then what you'll do is go through 6 different ones. You don't need to take the lessons, just get the strum patterns. Then make your own choice about which strum pattern you're going to follow. When I went for guitar lessons, I was blown away at how much my teacher knew and how if I had a question and I asked it of him, he had the answer, and there was great comfort in that. No matter what the question was, I knew he knew the answer. And I remember the week when I had found a song online, Ultimate Guitar, the website, back in probably 2000. And it was such a crude website at the time. It was just not crude, but what's the word? Basic. And I remember the fear of finding something and looking at it going, I don't know if this is fully correct, but I don't have guitar lessons until Saturday and it's Monday night and I really want to learn it. And sure enough, yeah, there was some things I'd spend time learning and then I'd show him and he'd go, yeah, that sounds good, that sounds correct. I'd be like, yes. And then other things, he might go, no, that there now, it goes like this. And there'd be a small part of me that'd be disheartened and go, oh man, I spent so much time at that thing and it wasn't correct. But the encouragement I'd give you with this is to go out there and do that thing of finding songs and giving it a go and you'll begin to develop this sense with your song learning of, geez, that isn't correct, so I'll stay away from that one. Or this sounds good. Or even the one of, I don't know, I'll work on it a bit and I'll ask Dave or I'll ask somebody. There's great value in that. Of course, I'm here to answer any guitar question you have, right, that I can help with. And then there's the other side of go out there yourself as well and find the things and start to make those little decisions yourself as well, and it'll help. Okay, so now a few more bits, right? So with the guitar hour, the idea with this is it's a live call once a week, and sometimes it'll go up to an hour, sometimes it mightn't. So in the original call, we'd somebody live on the call. So what we did was I was chatting with them for a few minutes and helped them with a few bits, and we talked at the end. And so with these calls, it mightn't go up to an hour if it doesn't have to. The main goal of the call is to help you with whatever questions that have come in that week that I can answer. Now, let's take a look. So the other thing that was asked was about songs, okay? And it was about, how do I make my playing resemble a song? Now, the big issue for players out there at times is when they're learning, it can be, geez, yeah, stuff sounds clear. Like my chord is clear, my strum pattern's okay, but I don't know. Does it sound like the song? And a big part of that can be wrapped up in your experience of playing. As an example, if I strum this, E minor was clear, capo's on well, strumming's okay. Could be anything. It could be any song, and in the whole world. It could be the start of Zombie. It could be a start of Wonderwall in a different capo position. It could be anything, and it's the lyrics and the singing that'll bring out the recognition, the fulfillment in knowing that you're starting to sound like the song. And that's why I encourage you on some of the easier songs, even if you don't consider yourself the world's greatest singer, give it a go. Just mouth the words. I did that because in the beginning I was strumming chords going, I don't know. I don't know how this G chord sounds with the song. There are things down the line that are far easier to do. Like if I do this, if I go... Right? Gonna get really creative here dancing around copyright. But do you get the idea? Like that it's that there's a riff and you kind of go, kind of sounds like a thing I know. So with riffs, which are individual notes, you'll feel like you're resembling the song way more. Melodies are another thing. Melodies, they're in the alternate picking fast track when it comes down to it. I was doing this one this week. Okay. You can hear the way that it sounds like the song. So for you starting out wanting to resemble the song more, a bit of singing, or if you have somebody at home that will sing along with you, that helps too. We are going to work towards like playing with the song. The buzz out of that is so cool, and playing with others, of course. So for now, the thing to watch is that you do a small bit of singing and that you're still focusing on the playing. The other question that came in about songs, I'm just going to take a drink of tea here. Got my Guns N' Roses mug. A student brought that into me last Christmas. They knew what I was into. Okay, so how to see a song through to completion? How do you see a song through to completion? It is a major question for guitarists, because with YouTube, we can look up whatever we want, and when we kind of get a bit of it, we can move on to the next one, or we can leave it at that. So here's something I'm going to suggest. I'm going to write this down on the iPad. Okay. The problem with seeing a song through to completion is commonly this. We go to one source, and that's our YouTube account. And I'm not hating on YouTube. I love YouTube. Oh my God, can't imagine life without it. So, and let's just say that's a guitarist, that's me. And we go there for our song. Okay. Well, what happens here? Number one is we got to be sure that the song is manageable. What do I mean by manageable? I mean that we aren't on step 19 of learning guitar, and this song exists on step 62. If you think about the progress involved in getting through all these steps, and we'll just imagine all the mini steps, and that's where players struggle. They look up a song and they try it out, and next thing they're like, oh man, I don't know. So here's the thing. Finding songs that are within your range of current ability is absolute key. So like if you pick a song that exists anywhere around here, anywhere along those steps, you have a far higher chance of seeing them through to completion. Excuse me. So what could you do? Well, what you could start with is this. I'm going to use this example. Let's say you're a player who is the D, G, C. Oh, I'll do this again, sorry. Okay. Let's say you're a player who is G, C, D, and E minor. Okay. And let's say you can play Wagon Wheel, Ever the Classic. You can play Zombie. You can play Brown Eyed Girl. Dave, you're going for the classics today, I know. And let's say you have those 3 songs. And they all use those chords. And the strum patterns aren't too different in them. Well, let's say then you're getting all buzzed and you're like, oh, this is so good. I'm going to learn another Van Morrison song. And you look up Moondance. And Moondance could be going something like this. Sorry. You see, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, that's up like a couple of levels in the game. So what you want to do is you want to base your searches on your current chords and base them on one extra chord outside of that. So the perfect chord to add outside of this group of chords. Okay. Did you ever hear that song, One Step Beyond by Madness? Go one step beyond. That's all we want. That's a great tune. So, for example, e.g., add the A chord in. So now what that unlocks is you could do a song with D, G, and A. You could also do a song with A, D. No, I'll keep it simple for now. Okay, so D, G, and A. And because of that, then you can look up songs, and you only have one brand new chord in that. That's your A chord. And songs that use D, G, and A could include... I'm blanking. Oh, I'll have to get back to that, sorry. So, you add in that one thing. Okay, I'm actually going to look this up because it's going to drive me mad. I'm waiting for the comments. Here going, oh, I thought you knew loads of songs. I do, I'm just absolutely blanking. Okay, so... Oh, Hey Mr. Tambourine Man and Bad Moon Rising. Okay, so we'll say Hey Mr. Tambo and Bad Moon Rising. Okay, so now when you think about it, you've gone from a player trying to go from step whatever up to like 18 levels above to just taking that mini step beyond. And what I'd suggest then is to see it through to completion. So that's the first thing, to make it manageable by going one step beyond. Step 3 here is it's how to structure the songs. So I think of songs, I put them into 3 buckets like this. And I put them into easy peasy. I put them into happening soon. And I put them into someday. Someday soon. Okay? Gotta have the possibility. So, if you're starting it, there, like for example, Bad Moon Rising is far more up-tempo than Hey Mr. Tambourine Man. But looking at it, excuse me a sec. Looking at it, you see here, it kind of sets your expectations then. It sets your expectations that if you're starting a song and you're like, oh, this one feels pretty easy, that you're looking at completing it in the next few days. The happening soon one, you'll go easier on yourself. You'll say a couple of weeks. And then the someday soon, you could say a couple of months. And some are instantaneous over time. So, by separating this out, you've now made it manageable. You have gone one step beyond by adding on the A chord. And for example, if you're looking at this and you want an extra one, after you've learned a song or two with that, you add on the E chord. And then you could just expand it out like that. Then, You've categorized them, so you're managing your expectations. Step 4 then, here is the key one, to see it through to completion. So that was the groundwork. That was like just making sure that we picked a correct song that's manageable and how to make it manageable. And even within that, you can split up those songs into like this A, D, and E chord, or this D, G, and A song. It'll happen this week, or it'll happen this month, or it'll happen this year. You know, they can be split out. So the last thing is step 4, how to see it through to completion. What you got to do is you got to front load it into your practice routine. So let's say, sorry, there we go. That's more like it. So with your practice routine, let's just imagine that's the new song. And let's just say this side represents old faves. The crowd pleasers, the stuff you can play already. That way you're making progress with the new song and you're also maintaining your old ones. So let's break it down to here now with the new song. The first thing to do is, what's the goal? So for example, if I picked Bad Moon Rising, I would say on average you have to play the chords 20 times in a row to complete the song. Okay, and with that then, you've set your goal. And you could start off by learning to play it twice in a row with the chords, then 4, then 8, 12, 16, and get to 20. And a key question to ask yourself is, how do I know this song is complete? For me, in the beginning, it was when I could play along with the song, or I could play it for 2 to 3 minutes, and I had that feeling of, yeah, I could keep going with this. I could play longer than the song. And like, I wouldn't put a measure of saying that you have to play up to speed with the song in order to feel like you've done it. If you can play a slower version of Bad Moon Rising and make it to the end, that's still great, like, you know. And there are ways to slow down songs as well. So that's a small bit about making songs more manageable to completion. So we'd say we got, there we go. So we're looking on YouTube for a song. We make sure it's manageable, because sometimes players, they can go from step 19 to step 62. Here's some classic songs that use those 4. And if I was doing one extra chord, I'd add the A. If you added B flat as your next chord after that, there's going to be problems, because there ain't too many songs that G, C, B flat, and D and E minor work together. Unless you want to write one, that'd be so cool. Then you look for the songs. I use Google because, sorry, I blanked. So Hey Mr. Tambourine Man, Bad Moon Rising. You drop it into your bucket, give it a go and drop it in, and you'll know. And let's just say you do a song like that and you think, oh man, this isn't happening this week, might happen next month. Well, drop it into that bucket, do a bit on it, but go out and find an easier song, or ask me if you want to find an easier song in that category. Then once you have the song, front load it in your practice routine, put it first. That way you'll start to make progress on the things that matter. Then you have the maintenance mode of the others. And what's the end goal? Some songs you have to play the chords 20 times in a row to make it to the end. So break it down into chunks like 2, 4, 6, 8, and Who Do We Appreciate and all that. Right? So that's a small bit on how do you see songs through to completion. It's like a framework. Now, this is building out over time. It's, how do you say, there's different songs and different ways to do this, but that is the way I've broken down songs here in my lessons and online in my courses. So, thanks for tuning in. And so I'm going to wrap it here in a minute, and I just want to say this has been so cool, and this is the first call. Things will improve as time goes on. I have plans to get another camera, multi-angles and things like that, and to make it even more interactive. So any suggestions, let me know. And this PDF of the notes, you'll be able to find this in the downloads it should be listed along with the video if you want to print it out or if you just want to have it on your iPad or whatever you use. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the community. Wrap it here now.